Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's LChat on non-salesy marketing strategies for Instagram. I'm really excited to have Caitlin Batcher joining me today. She is an Instagram pro. She has a course on it called Wham Instagram, and she's here to share some of her knowledge and expertise with us today. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you all can see me and hear me okay. So if you could let me know in the comments section that you can see me and hear me, that would be awesome. Feel free to say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Seems like you guys have found the comments and the section already. There's also a poll in the poll section. It should be right underneath this video. And I asked you two questions. The first is, how often do you currently post to Instagram? It looks like most of you post about once a day, and but maybe I need more time to develop these polls because I don't think all of you have seen it yet. There we go. Now it's starting to come in. But I'd love to get your feedback on that. And then the other poll is, do you have a separate Instagram account for your business? And it looks like everyone who's voted said yes. So we're going to get into those in just a little while. Let's see. Yes, you can see and hear me. Awesome. Great. Well, Caitlin and I are going to talk about Instagram for the first about 45 minutes, and then you all have been asking some awesome questions, so I want to make sure that we have enough time to get to those at the end. You can also vote up questions, so if you're looking through the questions and you see one that you really want answered, go ahead and vote it up, and then we'll answer it in order of the number of votes. So for those of you who might be new to an LChat and stumbled in here, my name is Lauren Hooker, and I'm the graphic designer and founder of Ellen Company. I love working with other creative business owners and helping them become strategic about how to grow a successful business. And I also love sharing design tips too. So I'm really glad you're here. I host these LChats every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And cover all sorts of topics. But today's is a really awesome topic because it's the one social media platform that it seems like most creatives tend to gravitate toward, but don't necessarily know how to use for their business in a way that isn't salesy or sleazy. So I'm really excited to have Caitlin joining us. Thank you for joining in, Caitlin. Glad to have you on today.
Yes, thank you so much, Lauren. I'm super happy to be here today. And I can't wait to talk to you guys all about Instagram. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Caitlin Batcher, and you can find me on the internet at caitlinbatcher.com and on Instagram at Caitlin Batcher. So very easy to do. But basically, I help online business owners and bloggers build profitable social media strategies. That's my main thing.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about how you got here, how you got into media?
Absolutely. So I started out in 2014 as a social media manager. So basically, I managed Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest accounts for multiple businesses. Most of the businesses were actually in the home space, so interior designers, people who made furniture, things like that, because I found that since I was doing everything myself, it really made sense it made my job a lot easier to kind of to niche down. And so I started doing that. And after a while, I just really started to kind of burn out. And I was really tired of being on call for my clients 24/7. And I was seeing such great results with all the strategies that I was applying to their business when I myself had no social media following, no blog. I wasn't using any of these strategies because I didn't have time. I was too busy doing it for everyone else. And so at the very end of 2014, I told my husband that I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to refer out all of my existing clients, every single one, and I'm just going to start fresh. And I'm going to start doing one-on-one consultations and blogging regularly and really focus on growing my own social media. And he was like, what? Yeah, not a fan. But you know what? It was like, but I just didn't care. Like, I just didn't care, to be honest. Because deep down, I knew it was working because I had seen everything work for all of the other businesses. And so I knew it would work for me. And when I started, I was just, I basically, Lauren and I were kind of talking about this earlier about like expectations, and I actually had relatively low expectations, but to me, it was actually a high expectation. So I thought my main goal was to be able to make $2,000 a month. I was like, if I can make $2,000 a month doing this, like, I am set. I can afford to put my daughter in daycare. I can afford to have some spending money. I don't know what I thought, but I was just like, this, I'm going to have it made if I can make $2,000. And so I was like, okay, Caitlin, I'm going to give myself 3 months to do this. And if I can't do this in 3 months, I'm going to have to like figure out something else to do. And within 2 months, I had done that. That was in January. By July, I had my first 5-figure month, which was like huge for me. Like I just had no idea that that kind of money was possible. And so then when that started happening, I was like, here we go. And then I got real serious about blogging and just about really optimizing everything, because I saw the results. And I know a lot of people suffer from social media burnout. And I think that happens when we're not seeing the results that we want. Mm-hmm. But when we start to see results, when our audience starts to really, really grow and they're responding to our content, and when we're actually making money from it, it is just like, it just spurs you on like nothing else. It's just so encouraging. And so pretty soon enough, I stopped doing one-on-one consulting and eventually moved to a strictly online course business model. And so right now, at the moment, I'm selling one online course. So now I just blog and sell online courses all day.
That's awesome. And now your husband doesn't think you're so crazy.
No, he does not. Now, once you start making more than your husband, like they're going to change their tune.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then it's even more motivating to keep going.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So you said that you were a social media manager. So you've worked with Facebook and Pinterest and all kinds of different accounts. So why such an emphasis on Instagram? What makes Instagram a great platform to focus on?
So, first of all, I have a special place in my heart for all the platforms, and they all serve a purpose. But you will not find a better platform than Instagram when it comes to building trust and relationships with your audience. It just won't happen. Now, Pinterest is great for driving traffic to your website. Twitter is great for building community, but you cannot replace that one-on-one engagement that comes with Instagram. And to be able to really connect with your audience and create content that has them, sending you emails and making comments like, oh my gosh, you read my mind. Like, how did you know I was thinking and feeling that? That's not gonna happen on Twitter. It's not gonna happen on Facebook, and it's not gonna happen on Pinterest. Maybe that would happen on Snapchat. I don't know. I'm just getting started on Snapchat. So
I need you to teach me about Snapchat. I don't even have a Snapchat account.
I'm still learning.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. In my experience, I've seen, I'm a little biased because I'm very visual too, but I love Instagram. And I feel like my audience on Instagram is much more willing to reply to my posts and just be more engaged on Instagram. They all, like you said, have their benefits, but Instagram is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. What about some common mistakes that people often make on Instagram? So it seems like I said earlier, for creatives, Instagram is the platform of choice, but it doesn't seem like many people know how to use it for their business in an effective way. And so what are some common mistakes that you see?
Okay, well, this is my favorite question. I love to go into mistakes because, as you can imagine, everyone makes the same mistakes. And honestly, I made these same mistakes too when I first started out, right? So the purpose of kind of going over these mistakes is not to make you feel bad or embarrassed, but just to be like, hey, I've been there too. I've made these same mistakes. And hopefully then we can move into some strategies to kind of help shift that so you can fix it. Make a mistake and then fix it. So the first mistake I think that that a lot of people make is that people think that they have a target market. They think that they're speaking to a targeted audience, but they're not. And the reason for that is that they are not specific enough. Now, I know that when you see other people, people like Lauren or others that market themselves to creative entrepreneurs, right? Now, that's a very big term, but what you'll find, you may get to a place in your business where you can really open up and be that broad, where you already have the social proof and the authority to say that you can do that. But when you're just getting started, it's really important to be specific. And one of the examples I like to give on this is so I recently started working with a personal stylist who I actually found on Instagram. And the reason why I connected with her so quickly is that she is not a personal stylist for women. She's a personal stylist for coaches and speakers. And we all know that coaches and speakers have a very different set of needs than someone who just goes to a regular office every day, or maybe works from home, or whatever it is. And so when I read her blog, and which I found also through Instagram, and I read kind of like the tips and the advice that she was sharing on Instagram, it just connected with me right away. And her whole tag, so her name is Tiffany Ima, and her tagline is build authority before you speak a word, which is great because that is what I want to do. And so I think that's like a really clear example of someone who is very targeted. Now, as her business grows, she may eventually get to that point where she's like, hey, I'm a personal stylist and that's it, and she'll start to get lots and lots of different people. But when you first start off, I think it's really important to get super, super focused, because once you figure out who it is that you want to target, creating content is not only easy, but it's fun. It's actually fun to do because you can literally picture that person in your mind that you're talking to. And it's a lot more enjoyable. And that content will resonate more with a lot of people. The other thing that I would see, the other main mistake that I see people make on Instagram is that they wait for people to find them, or they wait for people to come to them. And I see a lot of creatives do this because they're on Instagram and they see other accounts, that are growing very quickly and get lots of engagement. And so they feel like, well, all right, I'm on Instagram, I'm a creative, like I'm a great designer, so my Instagram feed is gonna look beautiful. And I see this all the time, a beautiful Instagram feed with hardly any followers and hardly any engagement. And the reason for that is that people are not being proactive on Instagram. And so there is a way to be proactive without being spammy or, buying fake followers or anything like that. But the point is, you have to put yourself out there, and you have to go to people. So people are not just going to come and find you. Like, simply posting an image and including a popular hashtag is not enough. Maybe it was enough when Instagram first started, but as we all know, more and more people are gravitating to Instagram. And as the market becomes more saturated, you need to up your game.
Yeah. And it seems like there are so many people out there. I mean, I come across beautiful feeds all day long. And a lot of times when I first started, I started following those beautiful feeds because I wanted pretty pictures in my feed. But now it's so common that there has to be something else that separates it. Or I have to have some connection or some knowledge of the person in order to follow along with them. So I love that you say going out there and finding them. So how do you suggest going out and finding those people? What are some tactics for being proactive on Instagram?
Okay, well, I can give you one tactic right now that's super easy to do. All you need to know to get started with this tactic is one hashtag that your target audience uses. So all you need to do is know one. So like for me, I know one of the hashtags that I've created for my community is called My Creative Biz. So if I go on my Instagram on my phone, and I'll do it right here and just kind of show you, so what I'm going to do, and I'll just kind of talk you through it, is I go click on Instagram. Let's see. Oh, Instagram has that new icon, and I'm still not used to it. I'm like looking for the old icon on my phone. Like,
I pulled it up yesterday, and I was like, "What is this?"
Oh my God, yeah. It's like, what is happening? Okay, so what you're going to do is you would open Instagram, and you would click on. It gives you a choice between like top, people, tags, places. So you would enter a tag. Now I'm going to enter the tag My Creative Biz and click on it. Now I don't know if you can see this, but maybe not. But at the very top there, it says related. And right next to related, it gives you a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other hashtags. Now, it's giving you a list of 5, and that list of 5 is always changing. So you can check it every day to kind of see what happens. But once you figure out those other 5 hashtags, you can click on one of those hashtags. And then you're going to be presented with 2 choices, either top posts is at the very top and most recent is at the bottom. And I always like to go to most recent because top post is just like the most popular post. And your clients and customers might not be all that popular. So I like to, I like to go through most recent. And then what I do is I just kind of go down and I start to interact with the people that I see. I just start to scroll down, and you can like pictures. You can look for people that you think would be a good fit for your services, and 100% do not pitch them, right? Because we're not being salesy, but you can start to build a relationship with them. And they might not follow you right away. And that's okay. The point is that you're taking a proactive step towards reaching them. And over time, once they start kind of get to know you and they're like, oh, this person is always commenting like funny little things on my comments. The other thing that happens is that other people that are commenting in that person's thread might see you and be like, oh, who's this? Like, this person made a funny little, like, I wonder who said that. And then they'll check you out. And so it's really kind of like a snowball effect. And so that's one tactic that is super easy to do. Like you can start doing it right now. Don't do that because then you won't hear us. But after the webinar, after this, webinar, then you can go through and start to try it and share your results with us. Because I know it sounds super easy to do, but being proactive like that really happens. And then you can just keep a running list of different hashtags and which hashtags you feel like really a lot of your target audience is using, and then you'll discover other hashtags and you're like, well, maybe that's not such a good fit. So you can just kind of make note of that.
That's so smart. I've never done that before. I'm going to be doing it. So do you recommend following along with those people so that you do continue to see their posts, or just?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just up to you. Like I definitely, I follow Lauren's approach, which is just follow people that you want to follow that seem interesting. So I don't fall into the whole, follow for follow, or like any of those like kind of like pressure tactics, like, oh, this person followed me, does that mean I have to follow them back? No, it doesn't. You do what you want. Do what you want to do. But on the other hand, if you find someone and you're like, you know what, this person would really benefit from what I have to offer, then why not follow them and then start to interact with them. And if they, just like constantly ignore you or don't seem interested, you can always go back and unfollow them. I mean, or you can be like, I actually just really like talking to this person, so I'm just going to keep following them. I mean, there's no set rules for that. And I know that there are some Instagram experts out there who teach the follow for follow practice. And so they say, the best way to grow your following on Instagram is to go out, follow a whole bunch of people, and then the next day see who does not follow you back and then unfollow all those people. And there's even apps that do that automatically. And so I know that a lot of you guys have, because I see it in Facebook groups all the time, people saying like, what is the deal? Why does this one person keep following and unfollowing me? Well, if they keep doing it, it might be because they're using an automated app. And so, I know that some people end up blocking those people, which again is further proof that using those kinds of tactics are just not good. They really label you as like a spammy weirdo.
Yeah. And I think too, something that's been on my mind a lot lately, especially when it comes to marketing, is when does it become more of like manipulation instead of marketing? I always want it to feel authentic. So if I'm following along with somebody just because I want them to start following along with me, or I don't know, it often seems a little manipulative maybe at times. Or if I see someone is following 1,500 people, I might be like, I'm a little.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So that's actually a great tip. That reminds me of a great tip that you really want to make sure that your following numbers are sort of even, or that you're actually that you're following fewer people that are following you. And the reason for that is if you're out there following 5,000 people, and if only like 200 people are following you, people are not going to want to follow you because that just communicates spammer. Like it just seems so spammy and so salesy. And, so that's something that you can do, is kind of go through and be like, well, do I really want to be following Starbucks? Maybe you do. If you do, like, go for it. But if you don't, then, you can definitely unfollow.
Yeah. I think building, what I've seen from my own experience is that trust is huge.
Yes.
So for people, I want people to be able to trust me if they're following along with me, because if they don't trust me, then they aren't interested in my business, or they never will be. They'll never follow through on something. And so that's like a personal principle. So all of those kind of tactics to follow to get a follow back or something like that always seems untrustworthy to me. So I'm always a little leery. So I'm happy to hear you say that. If you want to follow along with them, if you think you enjoy following along with them, follow, but you don't have to follow to engage with people. And they'll probably be thankful that you're reaching out, especially if you have something to offer that can benefit them long term too.
Yeah. And I also really encourage you not to spend time looking at who unfollows you, because it's just going to make you feel sad. And it's, people are going to unfollow you every day, like no matter what you do. And it's just kind of a waste. It's like an energy drain to really look at that. So I really encourage you not to worry so much about that.
Yeah. I used to look every so often, and because I think maybe it was Melissa Griffin who posted on this a while ago, but why it's actually a good thing if people unsubscribe. Not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. Because you want those who do like you to really like you. And so you don't want somebody who's lukewarm, I guess.
No.
So I'm curious too what you would suggest, because we said there are tons of people out there that are posting pretty photos. So how can you really differentiate yourself and stand out on Instagram so that when people do come across your account, it's not just pretty pictures. There's something that separates you from the crowd. How would you suggest going about that?
So the thing that I think that's really going to make you stand out is to really inject your own personality into your content. So what holds people back is that they're trying to please everyone. And so what happens is they end up creating this kind of like vanilla, boring content that just gets lost. It just like that kind of content is not going to stand out. Now I can tell you right now that like whenever I post a strong opinion on Instagram about like, hey, I'm super excited about this, or, oh, I really don't like that, whatever. Here's what happens. I sell stuff, number one, because it's resonating with someone. And the second thing that happens is people unfollow me. Now, when I create super general vanilla content, two things happen. Nobody buys anything and people unfollow me. So either way, people are going to unfollow you, but it's really important that you find those parts of your personality that people love. So we all have like multiple facets to ourselves, right? But so it's important, and like I have I certainly like I like to watch PBS a lot, right? But I'm not like on Instagram being like, hey, did you catch that? Did you catch News Hour? It was so good. I'm like, okay, so I'm not doing that because my audience doesn't really find that relatable, okay?
Right.
But there are other parts of me, like one is like, I like to wear sweatpants a lot. Like sweatpants are literally a part of my brand. Like when people find like a cartoon or something about sweatpants, my audience emails it to me because they like, it reminds them of me because I talk about that. Now,
right.
when I talk about like my love of sweatpants, like that's not going to resonate with everyone, right? Because some people are going to be like, oh my God, that is just gross. Like, I would never wear sweatpants, and that's fine, right? Those people are never going to buy from me. And if they do, they're not going to be satisfied or happy because they're not going to get my sense of humor. They're not going to get me. And so it's better that I repel them right off the bat and just be like, hey, I'm all about sweatpants. Obviously there's like more to me than sweatpants, but that is a big part of me. But yeah, and so yeah, just like, don't be afraid to really insert your personality into your content and take a stand and like have an opinion about something. Like if you don't like if you don't like flat lays, then don't use flat lays, right? Like if you don't like selfies, then don't post selfies. Like it's okay. You don't have to try to do things because you see someone else doing it and it's working for them. There's enough room for everyone. Like the secret to Instagram is not to take more selfies. It's not to have the best flat lay. It's not to have this or that. It's just to be the best version of yourself, basically.
I love that. And just, I love that you say not trying to be like everybody else too. Because then I think that's when burnout happens too. And you're like, I don't have anything to post because I can't make it look like this person. Or that's when it becomes more fun. And then if people actually are connecting with you or something resonates, it's because it really resonates, not because you're trying too hard to be somebody else. It's a lot to keep up with.
And people are going to catch on to that. Like if you're trying to force a message that really isn't consistent with your brand, like people notice because it just comes across as kind of weird. But when you're really tapping into kind of like your core values, your core messaging, all of that, it comes across as very genuine and people will respond to it.
And I think those are the things that are memorable too.
Yes.
All the people that I really enjoy following along with, whether it's Instagram or any social media or a blog or a business, there's some distinct features that make them different from everybody else out there. And so I think that really makes a difference too when I land on somebody's account. I'm like, oh, they're different. It's not what I'm seeing everywhere else or hearing everywhere else. And so I think that encourages me to follow along with people. And I think that goes back to finding those parts of you that can't be replicated.
Yeah. And the other thing that just kind of reminds, like I love giving actionable tips. And so another thing that just reminded me for is that if you want inspiration for your Instagram account, if you're looking for, like kind of visual inspiration or what kinds of photos you can do or whatever, look for someone outside of your industry. So for example, if you're a graphic designer, look at what someone who makes jewelry is doing. Look at what someone who sells flowers is doing. Like look at all of these different industries because even if when you're just getting started, it is kind of trial and error. You are kind of trying like other strategies that other people are doing. But it's still going to make you stand out because it's not what the other graphic designers are doing. Yeah. So I think that's really important.
I love that you say that. I follow along with very few graphic designers, and they're the ones that are so different from me that I wouldn't be tempted to do something similar.
Exactly.
So I love that you say that. I think that's great advice. So I think it's we get wrapped up in growing your following, and I think that's only half the battle. So once we get people to start following along with us, we've engaged with people elsewhere. We have an account that's true to our own character and our own brand and our mission. How do we get them to buy? How do you turn those followers into customers?
Yes. So this is my favorite topic. Turning followers into customers is my absolute favorite thing to talk about. And here's the thing, there are two different ways that you can use Instagram to sell. Okay, the first way is that you use Instagram as a tool to build trust and to drive traffic to your website. Now, once so an example of that would be, you would, instead of asking someone to buy something, you would ask them to read your latest blog post. Then when they click over to the blog, there's already a content upgrade, within the blog that then you can start to build rapport with them through email marketing. Or maybe you're from Instagram, you're directing people to a blog post that talks about your latest offering, right? So then it's kind of like a long extended sales page. So that is one way of selling on Instagram, and that way works especially well for very expensive packages. Now, I can tell you right now, if on Instagram, if you say, hey, like buy my coaching package, that's $5,000. Like, nobody's going to do that. I don't care how good you are on Instagram. Like, nobody's going to buy that. But you can absolutely, instead of selling that $5,000 package, use Instagram as a tool to say, like, hey, read this latest blog post. And then in your Instagram bio, you have the link there that links directly to that blog post. You get their email, etc. The other way that you can sell on Instagram is by offering a lower priced product. So what you would do there is you would advertise, like, if you have a like a $20 ebook, or maybe you have a $75 product, or anything, pretty much anything under the $100 mark is great to promote on Instagram and to change the link in your bio directly to the sales page for whatever it is that you're selling, right? You don't want to ever have the link just go directly to your cart. You want it to go to the sales page. Now, prior to that, right, so I know, like, everyone's going to be like, okay, I'm just going to go do that. And so then, this afternoon they'll post, like, buy my ebook. And then I'm going to get emails like, Caitlin, nobody bought it. So, there's a lot of work that goes into it ahead of time. One of my favorite marketers is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he talks a lot about giving before asking. And I think that's really, really important on Instagram. So if you have the post where you're asking for the sale, or you're asking for people to go to your blog post, or asking for people to sign up for your latest freebie, that's important, but so are the 3 posts that precede that, right? That are making you seem relatable, that are increasing likability, that are positioning you as an authority in your niche, all of that, right? And so, and you can do that, giving value, you can do that in lots of different ways, and we can talk about some of those ways to do it. But I think that that's really important too. So definitely being very clear and direct, and asking people to do it is important, but so is the content that precedes that. Now, when you're asking people to go to your blog post or to buy your ebook, you need to be very, very clear, because what happens is a lot of people say, oh, I just posted something new on my blog, and that's it. And they're not giving a direct call to action, which says, like, click the link in my bio and read my latest post. Like, it will blow your mind, or whatever it is, right? You need to tell people exactly what to do. And I know everyone says, well, of course everyone knows to go, check the link in my bio, but that's actually not true. Like, sometimes I don't include that, and then I get comments like, where do I find your post? I'm like, dude, it's in the link in my bio. But, like, you can't assume that everyone knows. And for every one person that asks that, I know there's a ton more that didn't ask, but we're just like, all right, well, I don't know where to get it, so I guess I just won't do anything about it.
Right. And I think too, even taking it, excuse me, maybe even one step further, like, click the URL in my bio, go read it, and come back here and tell me what you enjoyed about it. Like, just to carry on that conversation and engagement. And kind of build that relationship a little bit more too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Excellent.
I love, spot on. I love all of it.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And I think too, what you said about things leading up to it, just for me, and and this differs for everybody, and I'd love to get your opinion on what you think about business and personal accounts. But for me, I have the two combined. That's how it started. I tried to separate the two. It was too far gone by that point where I couldn't. But I like to share things. I've tried to be more strategic this past year of focusing in less on the personal side of things, more like the personal if it relates to my business. Not that the personal isn't helpful sometimes for people to get to know me, but I want them to follow along because they like Ellen Company, because I do use it for business. So I like to say, here's what I'm working on today, or here's a look at some client work that I've done recently, just to get those, or I'm really excited about the Adobe Illustrator class this afternoon, just to start planting those seeds. So later, if I go to say, hey, the Adobe Illustrator course is on sale, then it's already been presented to people and they're more aware of it, or like behind the scenes or things like that, just to start planting those seeds organically in a non-salesy kind of way.
Yes, exactly. I think that's so important because a lot of people have the misconception that having a business Instagram account means that it's boring, right? That all you're doing is selling, that it's boring and it's promotional and there's just no value to it. But that's not true. And all of the examples that Lauren just provided are perfect ways to share kind of the story of your business and a bit about your personal life, but you're relating it to your business, right? Because do you want, you might get lots of engagement and people might love it if you post photos of your cat, but do you want and like we can do that from time to time, but do you want to build a following of people that just wants to see your cat? No. Like those kind of accounts grow like wildfire, right? Because you're not selling anything. All you're doing is posting photos of your cute cat. You'll get 10,000 followers like so quickly, right? But you don't want that because it's not just about having lots of followers. It's about having the right kind of followers, people that are actually going to buy from you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm guilty of posting pictures like that, but I try to do it few and far between. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes those posts get way more engagement and it's a little frustrating.
They always do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And
that's okay. It's okay to space them in. But the thing is that you're doing it intentionally, right? You're like, well, okay, let's have a bump of engagement and my cat is super cute. So I'm just going to throw it up there. But you're not, it's not like a daily practice.
Right. Yes, exactly. I really try to cut back. But I think approaching your account and thinking, why am I posting this and what message do I want to get across? I think too, and I'd be interested to hear what you say on this. Usually with my marketing strategy on my blog, in anything, is the 90-10 rule of 90% really helpful, actionable content that's going to benefit my audience, that I'm not trying to sell them on anything. And then maybe 10% or even less of, hey, go check this out. Hey, buy my product, sign up for my list. Just again, to build that trust and let them know I'm not trying to sell you all the time. I'm really not. I'm trying to connect with you, build engagement with you. And if you're interested in this really great offering that I have, you can find me and kind of approach it that way.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
So I am far more promotional. I think I would do 3. So 1 out of every 4 posts would be saying, go visit my blog or go grab this latest freebie, but not even necessarily selling on every 4th post, right? Like not saying buy this course, but saying this blog, or, oh, I just made this new worksheet, like go download it, right now, like coming from kind of a place of excitement. Definitely do use it. I definitely do that more.
Right.
So I would say I do kind of like three posts where I'm not really asking anyone to do anything, or maybe the ask is, like comment below and tell me, this, that, or the other. So it's still engaging, but then on the 4th one, I typically do say, give them some sort of direction, like sign up for this or watch me here or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's your choice, right? Like everyone's audience is different, and the only way you're going to find out what works for your audience is to try out different things and see what feels right for you. And that's the way to do it. Just try it out.
And I think the way that you present it too, if you're excited about it, if you're not being super sales pitchy in it, but you are telling them, I want you to go and do this. I think that that's helpful too. The people that I love following along with and will buy from are usually not those who are like, hey, purchase this. I'm really excited about this course because I know it's going to help you this way. You can find more details here, or purchase, or something along those lines that makes it a little bit more personable instead of.
Yeah. I mean, bottom line, you're going to have to ask for the sale somewhere, whether you're doing that on Instagram or through email. It's gonna happen somewhere. So we're definitely not saying to, that you shouldn't, that there's anything wrong with selling or that you should be embarrassed to sell or anything like that, because we are in business. We are in business to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just make sure that you're not, spam city, which I'm sure like nobody watching today is like really spammed. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I'm sure if anything, everyone's on the other side of the spectrum where they like are too nervous about being spammy to actually promote anything.
Right. And I think if you believe what you're selling is going to help people, you're usually more excited to sell it. At least I know that's how I am. I don't necessarily love selling, but it is a part of my business. And if I think about how much my course is going to help somebody, or my blog post, or whatever it is that I'm trying to get them to act on, I'm much more excited to share it, and I don't feel so sleazy.
Yes.
So really quickly, because I want to be able to get to the questions. People have asked some really great questions. What are your thoughts, and I know this has been the buzz lately, but on the algorithm change?
Yeah. Okay.
And what all does it mean, and what's your take on it for marketing through Instagram?
So, first of all, if you are one of those people that freaked out about the Instagram algorithm change, like, don't be embarrassed. I mean, that's everyone, anytime any social media platform implements some kind of change, which they do all the time, it's going to make you feel a certain way because it's out of your control, right? And so you're like, oh my God, this is happening, like, time to panic. But the thing about the Instagram algorithm is, yes, Instagram is owned by Facebook, but this is not the Facebook algorithm, right? You don't have a business Instagram page. They're not restricting your reach on your specific Instagram account. So like, if you think about it, like if you're on Facebook, on my Facebook, I only see the people that I really care about on my Facebook page. Like, I only see my mom's content, my sister's content, my brother-in-law's content. Like, I don't see like people that maybe I knew in high school and I don't really talk to anymore. Their stuff never really pops up because I don't engage with it. And so on Instagram, it's going to be the same way, whether or not it's a business account or a personal account, because at this time, Instagram is not tracking that, right? So they're not tracking if it's not like having a business Facebook page. And so I think it's actually really an opportunity right now, because who knows what will happen down the line. This is an opportunity right now to really get clear on what your Instagram strategy is going to be, and just really, really lean into it, right? Just go all in and really, and while everyone else is like freaking out and doing this and that, this is your opportunity to get seen, right? This is your opportunity to do better, because guess what? We all get kind of lazy sometimes and that's just what happens. But now's the time to really level up and start creating better content that really speaks to your audience, give them tons of value, and because they're going to respond to that, and your content is going to get seen. So I see it as actually a good thing. And I know not everybody feels that way, because some people are like, oh, we just want it the way it used to be. But, the thing about social media is it is always changing. And the key to success on social media is being adaptable and flexible.
Yeah. The same is true for business. Just when you get comfortable with something, it changes.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to adjust. That was really hard for me at first, still is. But looking at the positives and seeing it as a creative challenge. And, I love that you say focusing on how you can do better and really increasing engagement now, so that you already have the people following along with you that love to follow along,
Yes.
and then you'll pop up
Mm-hmm.
if it becomes more
Exactly.
important. So I love that. All right, are you ready to jump into the
Yeah, let's do it. Yay!
So Sarah says, everyone says to use hashtags.
Okay.
They get me likes, but even when I put calls to action, people are not engaging. When I do get comments, it's very obvious that it was a bot or an automated software. What can I do to get past this and get real engagement? I know I should use hashtags, but it feels like it's not working. I've got an attractive feed, hashtags, and calls to action, and it feels like things are slow going. I've been considering not even worrying about Instagram at all. Oh no.
Yeah. So what she's describing is a mistake that I think I see a lot of people make, and that's relying on hashtags as a way to grow your following. Mm-hmm. The way that she's doing it, which is not a bad way, it's just incredibly passive, right? And like I said before, you can have the most beautiful Instagram feed, you can have, the best content out there, and throwing some hashtags on there, that's not how you're going to grow your audience. Like, right. Just not going to happen. Now, I shared one of the strategies that I use earlier in this chat, and so my hope is that you'll try that, not just once a day, but multiple times a day, because guess what? Growing your audience in the beginning, it takes work, right? It takes work, but it's going to pay off. It's your ROI is going to be huge. It just sounded like Donald Trump because I just said huge. What is going on? Okay. So, but I would really encourage you not to rely exclusively on those passive ways to get followers.
Right. I love that you talk about being proactive. I think that that's key. So perfect for answering that question. Thank you, Sarah. I hope that's helpful for you. All right. Alicia says, how do I create enough content to post 3 to 5 times per week and keep my audience engaged? I'm running out of ideas for different posts, but I see a lot of brands repost. So what should you do?
Okay, so I think, creating enough content to post 3 to 5 times per week, I think the best thing that you can do is kind of come up with some sort of a content schedule for yourself, and then create that content in batches. So if you want to create quotes every 4th post, let's say, then set aside some time, set aside an hour, and churn out, 50 quote posts, right? Get on Canva or Photoshop, whatever it is that you use, and churn them out. Put them in your phone library so they're good to go, so that you have something to post. The other thing that you can do is batch your photography. Right now, I actually outsource a lot of my Instagram photography. I have someone who creates like original content just for me, which is amazing. Yeah, I love that. But that only happened fairly recently. And so I used to do everything myself. And what I did was I would set aside one day a month, only one day, when I had the best lighting and when my daughter wasn't home. And I would set aside a few hours and just take all of my photos, right? I would have like a bag of props that I would just take out and be like, all right, let's make some flat lays with this, and let's take a picture of this, that, and the other, and just get it done. Because once those photos are on your phone already ready to go, then it's going to be super easy for you, because when it's time to post, you're going to have a library of content to choose from. So you're not going to have that feeling of like, oh no, I forgot to take a picture today, right? The goal is to really batch your content so that you always have something to choose from, and it's quality.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's true on any other platform. I create an editorial calendar for my blog. I create one for social media. I plan out what I'm going to share all day, and then just let it run through Buffer. So I think it's really smart. I do the same thing. If I'm going to take an Instagram photo, I'm going to take it from a bunch of different angles, because down the road, I can use it later for something if I'm struggling to find photos. Yeah. I like that you talk about batching so that you're not scrambling later on. Mm-hmm. Good question. Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Kira says, I hear I should be posting differently to Facebook and Instagram because the audiences are different. How can I still use the same content but change it up a bit to appeal to each audience?
I'm of the school of thought that it is okay to repurpose content, because especially for a lot of us, like, right now I have a social media manager, but if you don't have a social media manager and you're doing everything yourself, like, you need to cut yourself some slack. Most of the people out there that are saying to create original content for every single thing are able to outsource that. So if you're doing it all yourself, there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. And with saying with every time you post something on Instagram, you can share it directly to your business Facebook page. And you can supplement that with additional content that maybe you create specifically for Facebook. But there's nothing wrong with taking that Instagram post and maybe you want to pin it on Pinterest. Maybe you want to share it on Facebook. Maybe you want to tweet it out. Like, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And you might use the same photo and use your caption, but you might elaborate on it a little bit more or something like that, to where you can adjust it a little bit for your Facebook audience depending on if the two differ. But usually, because you're going toward that target audience of people who are going to buy from you, the goal is that each one of those audiences would be similar.
That's true.
And although with like Twitter, you can only use a certain number of characters, but
yeah,
with Facebook, that isn't the case. So,
and on Facebook, you can also include a link. So when you're posting to, although on Instagram, you would say, click the link in my bio, you wouldn't say that on Facebook. So you would delete that part and then just include the direct link.
Yeah, love that. Great. Another great question. Thank you, Kira. All right, Haley says, do you recommend having separate accounts for personal and business? If so, how much crossover in content do you recommend to help keep the business page personal and to drive traffic from the personal to the business page?
So I would say that in terms of Instagram, like, you need to have separate accounts, and it's driving traffic from your personal page to your business page on Instagram is just not going to happen. Like, it's the people, your friends and family that follow you, don't worry about trying to get them to follow your business Instagram account, because they're not going to buy anything from you. Like, it's just, that's okay, right? And honestly, none of my friends and family follow me on Instagram because I talk about business, and that's okay. And I had a personal Instagram account at one point, and then I was just like I don't have time to do anything there. And so I'm just like, all right, never mind about that. And so now I just have my business account. But like we said before, I think it's important to realize that business doesn't mean boring. So you're still infusing your own personality in order to stand out on Instagram into your business posts, right? You're showing behind the scenes stuff. You're giving tips. You're sharing quotes. You're doing, posting all kinds of content that your audience would enjoy in your unique Instagram voice.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like I said, mine are combined, but I don't share really personal things on it. I treat it as I would a business account. And the other day, actually, I took it as a win, talking about unfollows. My sister has a friend who was following me just because mutual friends. And she told my sister, she said, I love Lauren, but all of her posts don't apply to me, and so I had to unfollow. And I was like, that's good, because that means I'm using it right. And that people that are following me, that's a true number of people who want to follow along with me. So I do, and I have other friends that are like, yeah, Lauren, I follow you, but I'm sorry I don't like any of your stuff because it's all business. And I'm like, I really don't take it personal. And then if I like the post, I'm like, ooh, is that a little too personal? So yeah, I think it would be helpful to break up the two, but like I said, it's too far gone now. So I try to stick to business. But
I think that's okay, because also the other thing to keep in mind also is that, like, at this point in your career, Lauren, you are a personal brand. And so on some level, it's important to share that kind of stuff, right? And people do this all the time. Like, they'll see someone who's at a certain place in their career and be like, well, she posts selfies, or she's sharing pictures of her kid or her dog or whatever. It's like, yes, but she's not where you are right now, trying to get clients and trying to build up a steady stream of sales. Because, like, I mean, those other people, they can kind of get away with doing stuff like that, but that doesn't mean, and this goes back to kind of like being careful about where you get kind of your inspiration from. It's important to stay on track with what you're doing, which is really trying to build likability and trust with your ideal customers.
Yeah. And I think it's dangerous too to look at some people and consider them the rule. So a lot of times they're exceptions to the rule.
Yes, exactly.
So what necessarily might be working for them because they have a certain following they can get away with already, or they've been in business for so long, but we're just getting started. If I could go back and do it over again, I would have probably separated the two. But that's a really great question. Thank you, Haley. Suzanne says, how do you get started using Instagram if the media is new to you? So if you're just starting out, how do you find the best number? So maybe she's talking about the number of posts, but what would you recommend for just getting started? Someone hasn't even started yet. What should they do?
Well, the thing that my advice to you is to just start. And I know that you say you're getting started, and I know that a lot of creatives, like myself included, love to plan, and they want to make sure that everything looks great and and they're going into Instagram with like a clear strategy from the get-go. But that's just not going to happen. And as you continue to take photos and to post content, you will figure out what resonates with your audience along the way. And that's just a part of it, right? But the only way you're going to figure that out is if you begin a consistent practice on Instagram. And that means posting every single day and just kind of seeing what happens, right? But it's like, I'm one of those people that definitely don't feel like you have to be everywhere on social media. I think it's really important, especially when you're first starting, to choose one or two and really dedicate your time to learning everything that you can about how to optimize your presence on that social media platform, and just be consistent about it. I know for me, when I was first getting started, I focused a lot on Instagram and building my Facebook group. And those were two things that I did before sure, I had a Twitter, I had a Pinterest, but I wasn't really doing much with it until later on when I felt like, okay, I have a handle on Instagram. Like now I'm ready to start branching out and doing something else. And that's okay. So I know that a lot of times we have like shiny object syndrome or whatever. I mean, I have it too. But it's really good to just, it's okay to stay focused and be patient with yourself. Like you know what I like to do that makes me feel really good about myself is you can go look at someone's Instagram account and like a famous person that has really great photos and scroll down to like the way beginning of their feed. And you're going to see that a lot of their photos are just as bad as yours. I mean, honestly, like everyone is bad when they start. Like we just are. That's what happens. And that's why it's so important to just keep going.
Yeah. I love, love, love that you said this, because I feel like this has been something that continues to come up often for me now is, where do I start? And I always say, just get started, because there's an experimental phase. And even if you think you have it planned out to a T, I can guarantee you it's going to be different. It's going to take some trial and error. And so just get started. A lot of people say, what blog post should I start out with? The thing is, and like you said a moment ago, it's going to get buried underneath all kinds of content. And there are going to be very few people who go all the way back to the beginning and read your first post. Not to say
I will. I'll do it to make myself feel better.
Yeah. You'll be going all the way back there.
Yeah. I did that. I went on Design Love Fest's Instagram and I like scrolled back to the very beginning, and it was just like funny because like Brie is human. Like we're all human.
Yeah. It always frightens me when people are liking like really old pictures. If you do it, maybe you don't like it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. It's like stalker status. We don't want that.
Yeah. But yeah, just get started and try to use wisdom in what you're sharing and be strategic about it, like we've been talking about this whole time, but just start. Great question. All right, do we have one more? Just one more, and then it's almost time. This has flown by. Yeah. All right. Lauren says, what is trending high on Instagram at the moment? How do you sell a service or product well through Instagram? There's a bunch of questions in here. So let's just start with the first one. What is trending high on Instagram at the moment?
I don't even know. I mean, does that, like, you mean like you can figure out like, different trending hashtags or whatever. And I know some people recommend using some of those like trending hashtags to get your content seen. The reason why I don't really like to recommend that is because those people aren't necessarily your ideal customers, right? Like
Right.
if like Kim Kardashian is trending on Instagram, like her audience is probably not going to want to hire you. So I would sort of ignore kind of what's trending or what's super popular on Instagram and figure out what's resonating with your own audience. And use one of my favorite analytics apps is Iconosquare. And I use Iconosquare to see what content my audience is responding to, like what photos get the most likes, which one gets the most comments. And then I can kind of see like, oh, people are really responding when I do this, or when I shoot it this way, or whatever it may be. But it's not about figuring out what's popular with everyone else's audience. It's what's popular for your audience, because those are your people.
Amen. I was so glad you said that. I'm cheering over here. Because if you're following along with what's trending, then you're doing what everyone else is doing and you aren't going to stand out. But it'd be good for you to set the trend and then everybody else to follow.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, I hope that helps your question. I know that we've answered some of the other ones that are in there too, Lauren. So thank you. All right. Well, that hour flew by.
Yeah.
I hope that you all were able to take away a lot from today's LChat. I know I did. I'm going to be switching things up a little bit, I think, after this chat. But Caitlin, thank you so much for joining in. And for people who want to follow along with you, where can they go and what resources do you have for them?
So the best thing that you can do right now is go on my website, caitlinbatcher.com, and sign up for my free Instagram course. So I have a free Instagram e-course. You'll get a daily lesson emailed to you, and you'll be able to, start implementing some new things.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing to do. You can also follow me on Instagram. I mean, if you sign up for my email, I'll be emailing you, telling you to follow me on Instagram. So the best thing to do is just to sign up for my free Instagram course.
Awesome. And I have taken her Wham Bam Instagram course, and it's full of actionable tips in there too. And I included a link on this page. It should be right below this video, somewhere around.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So be sure to click over and check that out as well. Thank you, Caitlin, again for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you on. And for everyone who joined in today, thanks so much. I would love to see you in another LChat soon. Every Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week's is going to be about how to go from side hustle to full-time. So that'll be a really fun topic and one that I'm really excited to share about. I'll be posting more information about that this afternoon, so stay tuned. But thank you, guys. Thank you, Caitlin, and I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your day. See you later.